Well, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of In the Dark. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I really appreciate the intro because it shows that this whole, foreshadowing to what's to come is happening a lot faster than we thought it was. Because initially it's like, okay, it's like a month away. Then it was like 22. And now we're automatically like, oh, this is 9 days earlier to everything going down in the bar. I'm like, that's crazy. Because I would have expected that to be like a season long thing of us leading up to that. It's like, oh, apparently it only takes us a couple episodes to get there. Okay, so let's start off with the fact is we had that conversation between Murphy and Max at the beginning, and obviously it's like, yeah, like how'd you get caught? It's like, well, I didn't have that 100,000, it's like, oh, it went missing, so because of that, Dean ended up catching me, and obviously, and Murphy's kind of being like, coming from a place of caring of like, well, we'll figure this out together and stuff like that, which is interesting because they haven't really had a conversation since she kind of broke his heart, which prompted him to leave in the first place because she hasn't really explained that whole situation, so I'm sure Max has still got that on top of everything, but being like, oh, Guiding Hope is doing good. So I know that you took the money. And she's like, actually, it was Jess and Felix who did it. And it's just, but for him, he's like, the fact of the matter is, it's like, yeah, her lies created this situation to a certain extent. But at the same time, too, it's like she's also continuing to lie because it's like at any point you could bring up, okay, sadly, they did that and now we work for Nia. But like at no point that she does that because I guess like Max already has enough to worry about. So she doesn't want to add more to it. But also Max is kind of blaming her for this entire situation. And to the point he's just kind of like, I'm done, take care of yourself and just walks away. And I'm just like, oh, it sucks because like Murphy's in a rock and a hard place. But is that thing of like, maybe she had told her like the whole truth from the beginning, maybe things would be different from what they are right now. You never know. And then obviously what makes this whole situation even sadder is the fact is that, Murphy kind of has to kind of deal with this all on her own because she doesn't even have Jess who she can confide in about this whole situation because obviously her and Felix are caught up in their own situations this episode because obviously, because Jess, I think, went the entire episode never knowing everything that went down with Max just because Murphy was literally dealing with this on her own, obviously having to make a lot of unilateral decisions on her own. We'll get to that soon enough, but just kind of breaking it down. Well, let's focus on Felix's side of things, which is interesting. The fact of the matter is, I love him being in the car with a gun. He's talking all that shit because he's like, yeah, trying to act all tough. But the moment Sam gets in the car, it's like, oh, no. He kind of stammers up again. And then it's like, yeah, here's your cut. And it's like, oh, really? And she's like, wait, this is all? He's like, this is all for all three of us? It's like, yeah, after I took my cut, which he's like, no, this isn't fair. And she's like, what are you going to do? Shoot me? And she laughs because she doesn't think much of Felix. And obviously that's the thing of like, which I think is kind of funny. It's like you're getting a cut of some illegal shit that you're doing. And you're really not in a position to be like picky, I think, about it. I mean, but to be fair, it's kind of like that's where things started getting slippery with Walter when he wanted more, so Walter White, in Breaking Bad. So I was like, that's why I'm kind of like, not the best role model to be following after, wanting more in a criminal enterprise type of situation. But I guess it's like they're taking a risk and stuff like that. But it's just interesting. And especially because the reason why Felix is so upset by it is because he promised Chelsea of like, oh, we're going to go to this fancy restaurant and everything. But he doesn't have the money because he was accounting on the money cut they were going to get from Nia. And, now he has to like, oh, I can't take her to that fancy place. But then, he does because he wants to keep up the appearance of he is. Well, I mean, obviously he's from a wealthy family, but, obviously his mom kind of cut him off last season. And he's not really in a position to be begging his mom for money because it's just like he wants to prove his mom wrong and all that. So he'd never actually ask her for money and everything. But what's interesting, though, it's like, because even like her brother Ben kept being like, oh, aren't you supposed to be rich and stuff like that? He's like, I am. And just you get paid on Friday like everybody else. It's like, I love that Ben's asking to get paid. It's like, for one, you don't do anything. You're just kind of a slacker, which it's just kind of an asshole, to be frank. So it's just an interesting situation. And so the moment that, we see Nia's, like I thought initially, I was like, oh, Ben's going to steal Nia's money that Felix has stashed away. I thought that didn't cross my mind immediately that he would take the money. It was like the moment he was asking, I don't have the money. I'm like, you're going to take some of Nia's money. I was like, all right, hopefully you can pay that back. He's on a date with Chelsea. It's great and everything. And then her muscle dude shows up and basically starts drowning him in the toilet, giving him a swirly essentially, and then punches him. It's like, Nia knows you stole from her. This is your one warning, never steal from her again. And I was like, how the fuck did she know he stole? It's like, she must have like guiding hope bugged or something. Because I'm like, how would you know that? I was thinking like not unless is a thing of like the moment he paid with those bills, like she keeps the serial number of all those bills, so if they're ever in circulation, she knows people are messing with her. I mean, part of me was like, I was about to say not unless, I was about to say not unless it's counterfeit money or something like that. Like that's what I'm wondering. Like, is that why she knows what what bills are in circulation or something? That's why I feel like it could be the second, because watching enough money laundering stuff for that to be a possibility. But I'm thinking more so it probably is the first one. Like she had to have the place bugged or something. Like how would you know? Not unless she has people all around town who are like, this bill, this belong. I don't know. Not unless she has a very distinct mark on her bills or something. Let you know, this is Nia's money. I don't know. Either way, Felix came back. He tried to pretend like everything okay. He's like, Chelsea, let's go back. Even having to pay Ben off to leave Chelsea's place. And he's like, yeah, you can pay me off, but I'm still never going to make me okay with you boning my sister. She's like, what? It's not like, he's like, I'm just messing with you, dude. But if you do it, I will kill you. He's like, come on, lighten up, dude. It's like, right, yeah, funny. And they start getting intimate and, Felix kind of breaks down because for him, the adrenaline rush for everything that went down, was going, but then it terrified him, the whole situation. So he kind of started crying a little bit. It's kind of sad because he ended up talking about part of me initially thought was like, the reason why he's crying is because it's like, I was like, oh, is it just because you're that happy to get laid because you haven't gotten laid in a very long time? But it's like, oh no, just considering everything that happened to you, it's frightening. Like the fact is, next time you like mess up like that, Nia will have you killed because you know who you're dealing with. But he thought like, oh, I'm taking a little off the top. And he's like, a little off the top is always going to be the issue in a money laundering type of situation. So I just think that's kind of interesting. But the fact of the matter is, he just ended up leaving. But he goes to the shooting range later on and starts firing off a couple shots. And you see it like, oh, he feels good. He feels confident. Because, to be fair, Felix has always had, like, no self-confidence. And I think the gun makes him feel powerful and self-confident. So he goes back to Chelsea's place and they do the nasty. So it's like, oh, okay. So that's an interesting trajectory to his story, which, once again, makes the whole situation ironic because it's your gun that ends up killing Chelsea's brother, Ben. But to be fair, it's not him that pulled the trigger. Once again, just because whoever it was that shot Ben was in front of Murphy, and when we see Felix, he's behind her. And the different flash forwards to that scene we've seen, but once again, it's all out of context, so we don't really know where everything really stands in the grand scheme of things. And then there's that moment where, like, Sam tells Nia, like, oh, yeah, Max got arrested. It's like, Max is alive. And at first I forgot because I was like, why would she care if Max is alive? Why would that matter? Like, I was like, why would you assume he's dead? And then it's like, tell Darnell to come here. And I was like, oh, right. I was like, I forgot Darnell promised that he killed, he promised that he killed Max. I was like, ooh, that's not good. Because I love, like, because basically, at the same time, like, Dean is coming, like, he wants to talk to Max about taking down Nia, but Max won't because he already knows, like, well, for one, it's more of a middle finger to Dean because Dean hasn't helped him out. Like, he didn't keep up his end of the bargain. Granted, not like Dean necessarily could, but Dean goes to Murphy, and it's like, what would make you think that Murphy want to, but to him, it's like, Murphy would want to help Max more than him. Like, it's like, you love Max more do you hate me type of situation. It was kind of a gamble, but it's like would you, and he's getting, and the effed up thing is he's getting so frustrated with her. It's like, you killed her best friend, one of her best friends, dude. What, you think she's just gonna forget about that and be so okay with it? Like, she's gonna trust anything you say? You lying, manipulative piece of crap, especially how you manipulated the system in your favor. Like, it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm the good guy and you're getting in my way. It's like, no, you're a murdering piece of shit. And like, that's the craziness behind Dean's character. So, but Murphy actually goes to meet Darnell about, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, Max is in jail. Wait, what? Max is in jail? It's like, yeah, like, there's nothing you or me can do about it, Murphy. Like, he's as good as, dead, it's like, he's like, I gotta get back to work, which is interesting because him and Murphy had that, like, short, like, it's like, yeah, we haven't seen each other in a while, and so that immediately put a damper on it. So Murphy calls Max and, gets Max's attention, and he ends up being able to get a phone inside, and it's like, hey, like, and she's like, tell Dean whatever you can. I know you're pissed at me, but don't be stupid, because if you go on like this, at least Dean will be able to get you transferred somewhere where Nia can't get you. So at the very least, tell him whatever. You don't have to do it for me, or you don't have to be happy about it. Just do it because this is the only way that's going to keep you alive, type of situation. So And sadly, Max does tell him everything. And Dean's like, all right. And he's like, well, what about transfer? It's like, I gotta, I have to present this first and stuff like that. It's like, that's why you want to get shit in writing first. The whole point of a haggle is like, oh, you present me the deal first, then I give you the information. But I'm sure Dean still would have played hardball. But still, it's just like, and obviously Max is pissed at Murphy because he gets stabbed for it later on. Which is such a shame, and he's blaming Murphy. He's like, I should have never listened to you. It's like, that sucks, dude. Murphy, everything Murphy's doing, it's just everything's literally going wrong. Everything's spiraling out of control in this particular situation. So, and obviously she goes to confront Dean about it, and Dean just kind of ignoring her at first, but it's like, all right, fine, you're making a scene. It's like, this is my job. She's like, oh, you can just show up at my place, and I'm supposed to just let you, and it's okay, but like, I show up at your work, it's a problem. It's like, why did you, like, the fact that she's like, I need to know why you're not helping Max or whatever. And he's like, because to be fair, it's like, I needed Max's help to take down Nia. So for him, it's like, I'm willing to do whatever. And the fact of the matter is, there's no way I can move him that he'd be safe from Nia. Like, he's already a dead man. Like, no matter where he goes, Nia's got enough connections that she can make it happen. But the fact is, that's the effed up thing, that you gave Murphy false hope. So it's, once again, it's just like, it's all about self-preservation, because he knows he needs to take out Nia because it's to cover his bases, but also he knows that, like, he's a loose end that Nia could take care of. But once again, she can't right now, just because if she does, like, after everything she did with Jules, it's like, it'd be too suspicious. So, but like, he knows that he's a loose end, so like, the least he can do to make the situation better, I guess, to almost like, try and bring himself back, like, in, where he's kind of like in the, in the grand scheme of the black and white, like, oh, I'm in the bad, I'm in the, well, let's use red and blue. Like, since he's in the negative with red because of all the bad shit he's done, he's thinking like, maybe this will sway him back into the blue of like, oh, I'm a good person and stuff like that, which in fact it won't, but I think that's his justification, because he's still trying to be like, I'm a good guy, I'm a good person, blah, 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 his justifications and stuff like that. So it's crazy to think about it. So while that's happening, Nia talks to Darnell, and she drops a hard bomb on him of like, yeah, you thought like about you and Jules. And he's like, wait, what? He's like, you knew? She's like, of course I knew about you and a cop. And he's like, and that for him, it's like, you knew what was happening between me and Jules, and you still killed her anyway. She's like, yeah, because would you think I was going to let you just run off happily ever after with a cop or whatever? Besides, she was coming after us. To be fair, she was coming after Dean, but I guess the justification could be, if she came after Dean would have rolled on you. But to be fair, it was self-preservation in Dean. Like, Dean gave you misinformation. She was after him because she didn't know that, well, she did know, but she wasn't really necessarily coming after Nia. She was mainly coming after Dean for Tyson's murder. That's it. It's like, probably going after Nia would have been like the aftermath of it potentially. So it's like two birds with one stone, sure, but it's just like Dean manipulating you. I mean, to be fair, because Nia knowing what she knows, it probably is a situation of Nia being like, yeah, but she would have connected it back to us anyway. So even though it was for Dean's own sake, it was for my sake as well. So I let him think it was just for him, but it was mainly, so. Because Nia knows a lot more than we kind of give her credit to know. It's like, oh, like I said, she knew about the whole Jules and Darnell thing. So she's willing to give him another shot, which obviously Sam's not too happy about. But obviously Nia's like, I didn't ask for another opinion. So it's kind of like, come back to work for me and stuff like that. It's like, the sad thing is, no matter what you did, Darnell, I don't think you would have ever been able to get away from Nia. Nia would have always been like, hey, like, she would have found some way to worm you back into this issue. So, but the fact of the matter is, she hasn't straight up killed you, shows that she does value you. She does like you. She does care for you in some shape or form. Because the fact is that she's willing to give you another shot rather than just straight up killing you, which she has all the rights to, considering you lied to her, letting Max live and everything. But I don't know. To be fair, it's like she recognizes, like, yeah, you're a big softy. You kind of see, you're really trusting type of situation. So I don't know. It's just interesting. So she needs a message sent to was it Josiah, her competition, because he's buying up more corners and stuff like that. So she's trying to buy up someone else's product to kind of counter him. And Darnell's like, no, let me handle this. The moment it's like, oh, I wanted you to kill somebody from his crew to send a message, I was like, oh, the dude that offered you a job the last episode, your friend, you're going to end up killing him, huh? And the moment they met face to face, I was like, but he's like, nah, I need to meet with Josiah. And I was like, are you going to like actually go to him? Are you actually going to try and kill him and that kind of even you up with Nia? It's like, no. He's like, I want to burn Nia because she basically took everything from me. Because now it's like, it's one thing, it's like she killed Jules. It's worse, because that was already bad enough. It's worse knowing she knew about your relationship, knew how much you cared about her, and still still did that anyway, so. And he meets with Josiah, and it turns out, interesting enough, he's like, oh yeah, I actually worked for Nia for 5 years. So it's interesting, her main competition was someone that was a part of her organization. So that's why it's kind of interesting that she let so much stuff slide. That's why I'm interested by the fact that she let Darnell live, because it's like your main competitor right now used to be someone who worked for you, but I guess it's like she kind of has a soft spot for him too, like hence why, well, maybe she has been gunning for him previously to now, but he's got too much muscle and security and too much power, so she can't do it, especially because she's not in the most favorable position when it comes to power and stuff like that. He's kind of accumulated a lot more to power. He has a lot more money to kind of like balance the scales in his favor, so I guess that's going to be a reason why she hasn't gone after him, but I just thought that was so interesting. I mean, to be fair, we don't know who else is, a part of this whole thing, too, because he was like, oh, yeah, the reason why because like Darnell was a runner at the time, and he was like, yeah, I guess you weren't important enough to know that someone like that I existed, but it's like, okay. And the fact is, it shows you he's cold-blooded too, because Darnell's like, yeah, she's going to want me to have, she wants me to have a body of one of your people. He's like, sure. He just turns randomly, shoots one of his people, and there's your buddy to show Nia. And it's like, wow, that's cutthroat. And even telling, it's like Darnell's buddy that vouched for him, he's like, do you stake your life on it? And the dude's like, yeah. And Josiah's like, I'm going to remember that. I was like, oh, I was like, that's going to suck, because if Darnell messes up, you're the one that's going to catch a bullet too. And I was like, oh, that sucks for you, bro. So basically, Darnell knows where the stash is at. So it's like, oh, I'm going to take you to that, because obviously Nia's trying to like buy up all Mateo's product. And it's like, if she's going to put it somewhere, it's going to be here. So that means we can take all her product, kind of cripple her a little bit, So they roll up literally at the same time. Dean is getting locked and loaded too with the cops. I was like, oh my God, who's going to get there first? Who's going to get there first? I was like, oh dude, I was like, please tell me Darnell and them get there before Dean does. I was like, please, that'd be the greatest middle finger for him to be like showing up there and screwing over Max. And he ended up getting screwed over in the end. I was like, oh, please tell me. Doesn't it not end up being the case, because all the stuff is going on. I was like, what? I was like, how the hell did that happen? I was like, did Nia find out? I was like, what's going on? Because good old Murphy came through. I was like, yo, twist I didn't see coming. That was so good. It's like, okay, I got some information, but it's going to cost you. And it's like, what is that? Max. Call off the hit on him, and I'll give you this information, because, so it's like, she ends up telling her, like, oh, your stash house is about to get hit and stuff like that by Dean. So I thought that was so fascinating. That gave her time to grab everything, and then by the time they get there, all the stuff is gone. And even Gene being like, oh, Max lied to us, and Dean's like, no, it's like there's still residue from the product, and it's like she just moved all her stuff before we got here. And obviously Darnell's kind of upset by this whole situation, because the cops are already there before they got there, and it's like, damn it, because this was supposed to be his opportunity to get a leg up on Nia. But if it's the cops, because I think for him it's like, if the cops are the one doing it, Josiah's going to look at this as like, I don't need you, so your attempt to kind of join, it kind of screws you over, and now you're back in this position where you're kind of stuck working with Nia. Now probably even worse off is he's kind of stuck like playing double agent, so he's going to be working with Nia, but he's actually going to be double agent for Josiah. But obviously everyone who's with him, it's like, oh, this works out for us because Nia ain't got her product, the cops are taking her stuff, so this is going to cripple her. We didn't have to do anything. It's like, sadly, do they know that Nia still kept her product and everything, so she's doing just fine. Plus she avoided the cops, and it all came up all sunshine and rainbows for her. So it's like, okay, but it's like she needs someone to hire out our product now, and Murphy suggested a place, and that's Guiding Hope. Unilateral decision and all that, so it's like the others are probably going to be upset, like, wait, you're hiding drugs here now, which now fits into what Felix was talking about earlier. He's like, what about the drugs? But Murphy's like, we've got other stuff to deal with right now. So it's like, Dude, and once again, that's 9 days away. Like I said, that time frame is getting shorter. I wouldn't be surprised if what goes down in that moment goes down literally next episode. I've not seen the preview for next week's episode. As you know, I try to avoid them, but I just assume it. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a little bit more time. It's just like that's rapidly approaching. Like I said, I expected that to be like maybe near the end of the season. We're still like in the first like basic third of this season. If this season ends up being 13 like the first one was, I'm assuming it is, but it could change. But if it is 13, like we're still in the first third of this season, and like we're already kind of getting close to that point. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. It's going to be interesting to see ultimately where all that ends up going, like what's going to happen with Dean, because now Dean has no other leads because Max did give you the right information, and Max isn't going to point you in any correct direction. Like even if he had any more information, he's definitely going to help you now because you screwed him over. It's interesting because Max had made a point like, like if I take down Nia, everyone else in her organization is going to get taken down. I can't do that to Darnell. And Murphy's like, Darnell's out. At the time he was, but now he's back in. So that's a very complicated thing. But also like Murphy didn't let in like the whole information about like, so that also includes me, Jess, and Felix. But maybe she's hoping that maybe there's such a disconnect. At the time she was thinking more so like Max's life is literally in the balance right now. We could kind of worry about that later. Like I said, that's the problem is she kind of had to deal with all this by herself because no one else was there to kind of bounce, stuff off of. Like obviously Felix was caught up in his stuff, so was Jess, which obviously good for her that her and Sterling are actually getting closer because it's like, like she's like, I think I'm having feelings for you, and Sterling's like, I'm feeling the same way. So I was like, hey, things are kind of working out on that front, but it's just kind of like, yeah, probably not the best time for you or Felix to be getting in anything serious considering like all the lying and covering up and criminal activity you're going to be doing. You're doing right now and you're going to have to continue to do in the future. So it's going to complicate any meaningful relationships you have. So it's definitely going to be interesting to ultimately see where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good